Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking into a really, let's say, mind-bending idea.
Definitely out there.
We've been listening to this audio recording by someone named Tobias Lars, and well, it presents a view of human existence that's unexpected, is putting it mildly.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to explore what he actually calls galactic farming.
Exactly. And it's, quite a startling framework he lays out,
Yeah.
suggesting reality might have these layers we just haven't considered.
Right.
So our goal for this deep dive is really to unpack these core ideas from the recording, pinpoint the key claims, understand the structure of this whole perspective.
Yeah. Try and get our heads around it.
It's the kind of thing that definitely challenges your assumptions about, well, almost everything. And that's frankly what makes it so interesting to explore, even if it's unusual.
Okay, so let's dive straight in then. What is galactic farming, according to Lars? I mean, the name itself conjures up some pretty wild images.
Well, the foundation, the way he explains it, is through an analogy. Lars compares humanity's situation to aphids, those little insects that ants farm for their honeydew.
Ah, right. I know what you mean.
So he takes that idea and scales it up cosmically, proposing that Earth is essentially a farm planet managed by extraterrestrial beings.
Managed. Wow, okay.
And a key point here is that he says this isn't like the original plan, not the natural state of things. There's this implication that we've deviated from something else, maybe a more autonomous way of being.
So if Earth is the farm, what's the crop? What are these alleged galactic farmers actually harvesting from us?
This is where it gets particularly strange. The recording claims these beings feed on human soul energy.
Soul energies.
Yes. And apparently they have a specific preference for the energy created by fear.
Fear. Why fear?
The idea presented is that big traumatic events, think wars or even ritualistic sacrifice, are actually favored by these entities because of the intense raw energy that gets released. It is. Lars even brings up a specific term, looch. He claims it refers to this surge of harvested energy and that it's supposedly a known thing within certain classified military programs.
So it's not just happening. He's suggesting there are deliberate mechanisms, active extraction.
Precisely. That's exactly what the audio suggests. It proposes that there are actual devices subtly integrated into our chakra system.
The energy centers in the body.
Exactly, those energy centers. And these devices are supposedly there to continuously bleed this energy off. The recording uses an analogy like tapping a maple tree for its sap.
Wow.
So this ongoing drain, according to this viewpoint, is fundamental to how the whole galactic farming thing operates.
Okay. And who are they, these supposed farmers? What does Lars say about them?
Well, he talks about a humanoid galaxy, suggesting, the two-legged form is common out there.
Uh-huh.
But he also includes other types, insectoid beings, bird people. He even makes a reference to a past experience, supposedly, as an eagle man in Atlantis.
Okay, that's quite a mix.
Yeah. And then there's the more controversial part. He argues that Earth's religions, especially what he calls fanatical sky god religions of avenging sky gods' fathers.
He names specific ones.
You mentioned the Abrahamic Anunnaki blood sacrifice religions specifically. He claims these are actually part of the management system.
How so?
The argument is they're designed, or at least utilized, to basically cultivate fear and encourage conflict, which in turn generates the energy these beings supposedly feed on.
So religions as a control mechanism for energy production.
That's the claim. Interestingly, he does contrast these with, say, Buddhism and Hinduism, suggesting they tend to create less of this specific kind of energetic trouble or yield.
That's a huge claim, connecting belief systems directly to this energy harvesting idea. So, okay, if we follow this line of thought just for a moment, what are the wider implications supposed to be?
Well, the implications, as presented in the recording, are pretty profound. They touch on our basic understanding of human potential. Like the idea that aging itself is a lie, a limitation that's imposed on us.
A lie. So we shouldn't age.
The suggestion is that without this constant energy drain, human lifespans could be, well, vastly longer. He cites ancient figures like Hermes Trismegistus as maybe examples of this unlocked potential. Even things we consider, miracles, like walking on water. The recording presents these as potentially normal human abilities, if not for this energy harvesting.
And he used that analogy about the chickens too, right? I remember that standing out. It really drove home the feeling of, well, being used.
Yes, exactly. He tells a story he attributes to Paramahansa Yogananda, It compares human lives to chickens in a coop.
Right.
The owner comes and takes the eggs, that's the energy, and then the young chickens, representing people, are sent off to be slaughtered in wars.
A grim picture.
Very. It paints humanity as unknowingly serving this purpose in a cosmic farm scenario. And Lars goes on to argue that various isms, he mentions religionism, scientism, other belief systems, they all function to keep humans sort of locked inside this 3D matrix of fear and terror.
To keep the harvest going.
That's the implication.
Yeah.
To perpetuate the energy harvesting cycle.
Okay. So, if this is the alleged situation,
Hmm.
does Lars offer any kind of solution? Is there a way out, or is it presented as totally inescapable?
No, the recording does suggest it's possible to break free.
How?
The first step is described as waking up, becoming aware of this alleged reality, recognizing the manipulation.
Seeing the farm.
Kind of. And this involves actively unprogramming ourselves from these deeply ingrained fears.
That sounds difficult.
He acknowledges it can be unsettling. He compares it to, say, cattle being nervous about leaving an open gate, or a bird that's been caged being afraid to fly out. There's a fear of freedom itself initially.
Okay.
He also talks about the need to upgrade your energy system, and specifically to remove these supposed implants that are draining the energy.
Right, the chakra implants he mentioned earlier.
Exactly.
And does he talk about how, other people might react if someone starts trying to wake up, as he puts it?
Yes. He does caution that people who start this process might face, well, negative reactions from others, from people still within the program.
Why?
He attributes it to their own conditioning, their own fear-based programming kicking in. It challenges their reality, too.
Makes sense in that context.
And finally, the recording does suggest that one can, call out to Source God for help in this whole process of liberation.
Okay, so let's try and wrap up this deep dive into Tobias Lars's audio recording. We've looked at this really central and, let's be honest, pretty extraordinary claim of galactic farming. This idea that Earth is a kind of managed planet, that extraterrestrial beings are extracting human energy, mostly fear-based energy.
Right, using methods like, allegedly, tailored religions and those implanted devices we talked about.
And this whole perspective implies that humanity's true potential is being suppressed, but that waking up and detaching from this system is potentially a path forward.
Precisely. And it's worth stressing again, this recording offers a very specific, very unconventional interpretation of reality. Our focus here has just been on understanding the ideas as presented in that particular source.
Absolutely. We're just exploring what the recording claims. And that really leads us to the final thought we want to leave you with.
Yeah.
Given these, pretty radical claims we've discussed, what questions does this perspective raise for you, even just as a thought experiment? What does it make you think about the nature of your own beliefs, maybe the limits you perceive on human capability, or even just the idea of influence and control in our world?
It definitely pushes you to re-examine some fundamental assumptions, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.